Welcome to this new lecture, and in this lecture you will learn about two other very important data types, and those are lists and tuples. And a list is an array of objects. And I say objects because a list can contain everything. So let me create a list here and store it in a variable. Let's say li, the variable, which is equal to open square brackets, and that's how you declare a list, so you always use square brackets. And inside that you pass any possible object that you have. For example, you might have a string, let's say today, and then you might have other objects in there. And to add other objects you use a comma, just like that. Let's say tomorrow, and you might also have numbers in there, let's say 3, and so you have a list. Now lists are very useful when you do batch operations. Let's say you have some data and you want to apply a certain operation to them. Let's say you want to calculate the square root of any of your numbers in your list, in your data. You'd pass those data in a list and then apply the square root operation to that list, to the items of the list. And you'll learn how to apply operations to every item of the list later on when you'll learn about loops. So for now, just get familiar with the lists. Lists have something very similar to strings because they support indexing just like strings do. So you have positive indexing and you have negative indexing. Let's say in this case you want to extract number 3. You could just pass 1 and you get 3. A list has its own type, of course, so it's a list object. There are a few operations you can apply to lists. Let's say you want the length of the list. Li, and you get 3. So your list contains 3 items. You can delete items from a list using the del function. Del is a bit special as it doesn't use brackets. You just need to pass the list there and the indexing for the number you want to remove. Say you want to remove a number with index 2, which is 0, 1, 2 is 3, so it's number 3 there, just like that. And when you check the list, you don't have number 3 in there. You can multiply a list. And what if you wanted to add the number 3 again to the list? In that case, you'd use the append method. And I explained to you that the way you apply methods to an object is by using the dot notation. So you refer to the object, the dot, and the append method in this case. The append method then has to get an input inside the brackets. Let's say we want to input the number 3. And we get number 3 again in the list. If you want to insert a number in a specific place inside the list, let's say you want number 2 after the item today. In that case, you'd use the insert method. Insert, and then you specify the index where you want the new item to be placed. Let's say we want after today, so it's index 1, and we want number 2. And so we get what we expect. Now we deleted an item using indexing, so we knew what the index of number 3 was, so we passed 2 here, and the list removed the number 3 from its content. Sometimes we don't know the index, so in that case, let's say we want the string that we want to remove, but we don't want where it is placed. In that case, you'd use the remove method. Let's say we want to remove the object tomorrow, so the string tomorrow. And it says that X is not in the list. In that case, you want to closely check what you passed to the input. So I passed tomorrow, yeah, I didn't pass the O letter here. We didn't get an error this time, so let's check. And as you see, the remove method removed all the strings tomorrow from the list. And that's what you should know for now about lists. And remember, if you want to know about more available methods that you can apply to a list, you can always use the dir function and either pass a list here, or a shorter way to do it is by passing the list object, which is a keyword. And so here you get the methods, and if you want some help from any of them, you can use list.pop, for instance. and you get the help. And I said you can store everything inside the list, every object inside the list. That means I have this function here, for instance, and if I want, I can create a list. Let's say a list named functions. That would be equal to this output of the function, and then a comma, and then I would like to add another instance of this function. And we need to remove the bracket here. So this bracket here closes here. So let me add this function again here. And I'll change the argument I'm passing here. Great. So what we have is two outputs generated by this function. And let's print out the list functions. Great. Now open a console here, a new one. So we are in the command line. And let's say Python script 2.py, and here is the list printed out on the screen. This number here belongs to this function, and then we have the list. So this was to show you that you can store everything inside the list. Going back to the interactive shell, I also told you that I'll talk about tuples. Tuples are just like lists, but they are immutable. So you cannot modify a tuple once you have created it. So you cannot remove an item from a tuple. To create a tuple, you use normal brackets. So you use square brackets for lists and you use normal brackets for tuples. Let's say 1, 2, 3. Type T and it's a tuple. Lists are mostly used to store data. Tuples are when you want to store, for example, you have a graphical interface where you have some buttons, and you'd like an object to hold all these buttons. You'd like an object that is immutable. You don't want to modify it for any reason. So in this case, if you apply the remove method to the tuple and you want to remove number 2 from it, Python says that the tuple has no attribute remove. You will be using lists much more than tuples. So it's better to focus on lists for now, and that's what I wanted to teach you in this lecture. See you later.